Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, if you don't recognize the vehicle beside me, don't be surprised. Of course, you do recognize that 7-slot grille up front and the name Jeep. But one name that you will be familiar with is the Cherokee. Now, this vehicle hasn't debuted in over a decade, but Jeep has brought it back and has done a whole bunch of new enhancements to the outside, really not drawing anything from the past and really looking to the future. Now for 2014, it's more than obvious that the Cherokee has had a massive reconstruction, and what you would think of the last decade while it sat idle, that maybe it'd come back with a more mature, kind of aged approach. But actually looking at the exterior, it really has more of a youthful-like appearance, and that's not bad considering you're going up against maybe the new Honda CR-V and the Ford Escape, both having similar styling lines, and that whole nice kind of easy on the eyes. Now previous model, of course, that was strong, hard, wagon-like approach and more of a boxy style, and we've come a long way with this offering. Now, to help lower the costs and improve reliability overall, they started with the Fiat-based architecture on the underpinnings. Now, that platform is called the Compact US Wide and really developed this vehicle from the ground up. Now, by the numbers, the vehicle measured in around about 182 inches overall with a 106-inch wheelbase. Now, as for overall width, it's about 5.5 feet and just over 6 feet tall. Now, that's decent numbers, and across the board with the Honda CR-V, the Ford Escape, you're going to see similar numbers there as well. Now, the best thing about this vehicle, it is the Trail Hawk model, meaning you can even take it off-road, and it's truly trail rated. Now that means down here on ground clearance, it's going to average around 8 to 9 inches, and it really allows you to get those departure angles and really rock crawl if you want to take this vehicle off-road. Now, one of the first things I noticed when this vehicle arrived was the exterior, and I had to compare it to a vehicle from the past called the Isuzu V-Cross. Now, it debuted back in the late 90s and had a lot of off-road prowess, especially that lower fascia it had, and of course that ground clearance, not to mention that four-wheel drive capability. Now, back in the day, it wasn't anything for me to take a vehicle off-road, get it stuck, and get towed out. Now, of course, then I've matured, maybe aged a little bit, and really stick to the pavement. But when a Cherokee arrives like this, with all its useful appearance, and of course that trail-rated insignia, it really beckons from the old days of trying to get this vehicle stuck. Now, just like the Isuzu V-Cross, what is great is it does have that kind of lower rubber fascia. It has some nice all-terrain vehicle tires, and of course they've added another inch of ground clearance, getting close to 9 inches. Now, one of the biggest comparisons I had to make to the V-Cross was really right up front with that kind of black decal that I recall. And what's great with the Trail Hawk is they really help with the approach angle, really putting that rubber fascia there, help with the scrapes, because you really don't want body color. And of course they have the departure angle fixed just the same. Now, it shouldn't really come as a shock when you look at the transformation the Cherokee has undergone, as really other notables like the Honda CR-V and the Ford Escape have done the same, all of them getting rid of the straight lines and going into more of an aerodynamic and more appealing exterior. Now, where the biggest difference really lies with this Trail Hawk model and maybe even the Honda CR-V is that lower fascia you see here, the approach angles that you have, and really the off-road ruggedness. Now, in comparison to Honda CR-V, I really think that's more of a grocery go-getter, as this is again trail rated and can do just that. Now, when you come up front, this design really comes together, really with these dynamic headlights and even this kind of curved grille that kind of encompasses into the hood. Now, again, I can't overstate it that this rubber fascia here is really going to help with getting into the brush, getting into the mud, and preventing any kind of scrapes you would have otherwise on those body color kind of front ends. Now, what's even better is this vehicle has two huge tow hooks right here, allowing you to get that vehicle, tow it out of the thick of it. They actually have one in the back. Now, try doing that on your Honda CR-V, and you may not have a bumper when you're all done. Now, with the re-debut of the Cherokee, Jeep did not try to reinvent the midsize SUV market. They kind of fell somewhere in between, not being a copycat and not being totally original, as it really blends with the current offerings on the market. But what they did do is add some design cues that separate it from the masses with the nice rear end taillight assembly, a little bit of spoiler, and of course that dynamic front end we've already talked about. Now, what's again great on this Trail Hawk model is that lower fascia, the dynamic tires, and it really gives you that off-road prowess that maybe the midsize SUV market is kind of missing. Now, spinning around to the back of the Cherokee, the first thing you're going to notice is the red tow hook like we have in the front front, basically allowing you to hook up and pull this vehicle out of those sticky situations. Now with the debut of the new Cherokee, you've got to of course expect new technology and innovations, because again, we're not in the 90s anymore, so you got to put technology first. And one of the most notable features of that is the smart key system. Now unlike the old traditional key, this basically can stay in your pocket. You walk up to the car and it knows you're there. Now in this particular model, we do have the power rear hatch. You walk up, press the button, and it's going to rise to the occasion. Now when you open the rear cargo area, it's to be expected typical mid-size SUV spacing with around about 24 cubic feet of space, and you more than double that when the rear seats fold flat. Now again, we tested out the Trailhawk Edition, which means it's going to come with the bigger engine, more specifically a 3.2 liter 24 valve V6 engine. Now it delivers around about 271 horses and 239 foot-pounds of torque. As for fuel economy, that's going to be around about 19 to 27 miles per gallon. Now if you go with the standard model and the smaller engine, that's of course going to be a 2.4 liter 16 valve inline 4-cylinder. Now it delivers 184 horses and 171 foot-pounds of torque and gives you a couple more clicks of fuel economy. Now, if you didn't recognize the outside of the Cherokee, you're not going to recognize the inside, because again, this is not based on the old box days. This is based on new innovation and technologies, and the most notable is going to be that U-Link system. Now, we talked about the U-Link system, but we'll quickly go over it. It basically houses everything at the touch of the screen. Now, this is far from the back in the days of the old 90s where you had the old radio and basically no styling cues to note. This is far from the case in this new Cherokee, and the other notable features you're going to really find is the leather seating on this particular model and just the overall comfort. Now I talked about the smart key system earlier, and that's really going to translate right here behind the steering wheel and that simple press start button, and not having to fiddle with the old traditional key. Now once you climb inside is really where you're going to notice that mid-size SUV comfort. Even though from the outside it may look somewhat compact, really it's just not the case, because once you climb inside, there's 40 plus inches of legroom up front and 40 inches of legroom in the back, really meaning anywhere you sit, you're really able to stretch out. Now the smart key system and the U-Link is not the only innovation you're going to find in this vehicle, and really is tons of it right here between the front passengers. Most notable, of course, is the four-wheel drive system. You really select the modes you want and dial it in. Now another nice feature is the all-new 9-speed automatic transmission. Now unlike some of the other Chryslers where you dial it in on the dash, this has the old traditional gear system. You pull it into drive, and what's even better, it does have a dynamic manual-like mode. You click it over to the left and you can shift on the fly. Now again, when the Cherokee last debuted, it was in the 90s, and things like USB and SD cards really hadn't been invented. But now with the new Cherokee, of course, those things are out, and you've got to make them available in the cars, and they've done that just here. They've got an SD reader up front, a USB port, and of course auxiliary jack, and they've also have a USB port here as well. Now the other great thing about this vehicle is storage. You've got the old traditional glove compartment, you've actually got a nice storage up here on top, and of course the center console. But one place you never think of is under your seat, and right here in the passenger front seat, they've done that with a flip-up seat cushion, allowing you to store things down there just the same. Now we talked about all the drastic changes that the Cherokee has gone through, from the innovations to the exterior styling cues, but one thing has to remain the same, and that is interior comfort and volume, and they've done that quite well, again with 40 plus inches in the front and just the same in the back. Now what they have done is not reinvent the wheel when it comes to cargo transitioning, and that basically is a one pull system right here, allowing this seat back to fold down. Now what they also have done though is allowed this rear seat to travel forward, basically move it forward like this and then fold it down, and it'll allow you to have one seamless cargo floor from front to back. Now that does it for this edition of Road Warrior. I've been your host, Grant Roberson, and we tried out the all-new, reinvented 2014 Jeep Cherokee. Now again, this vehicle has not debuted in over a decade, and it's re-entered a mid-sized market that has a lot of offerings, again like the Honda CR-V and the Ford Escape. And again, it's not a copycat, nor is it totally original, but it has a lot of styling cues and of course that off-road prowess we talked about. Now I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior, and as always, keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.